and welcome! It's the Full Force Mid-Freakly Halloween special. Today I am joined by the awesome Patrick, not Mirror Universe Picard, Stewart. On the show today we're going to be talking about our scariest G.I. Joe and Cobra characters. So what is it, Pat?
It's the Full Force Mid-Freakly.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Okay,
Snake Eyes is talking.
I'm going to have to... Hang on. Edit point. Okay, I'm back in the game. How you doing?
Doing okay. It must have been Zartan as Snake Eyes since he was talking and now we could see his face.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, you know, I'm just... Well, actually, technically, I'm the Snake Eyes movie Snake Eyes.
Oh, that's true. Okay, so you'd be talking anyway.
I can.
And for some reason not wearing gloves, right?
I'm Henry Golding. So, yeah, not wearing gloves. Or, mate, you should... This is a child's costume I'm wearing, by the way. And also got the sword here as well, which I'm not sure if anyone, which is just sweaty now because it's been stuffed in my back. But there you go. I've gone I've gone full force on the Halloween vibes today, and you have as well, Captain Street Fighter over there.
Well, you know what? I have to admit to not being very prepared, but this is still around, having been on loan for the Articulated Point Street Fighter episode. So here I am again.
It works, man. It looking good. I've also, this is Kate's wonderful little Robo Pumpkin. Isn't that amazing?
I do like that. Yeah, that's nice.
Great? I would show you a little bit, some close-ups of it, but it's really just background dressing. I don't want to damage it actually. But anyway, yeah, that's there. Thank you, honey, for the little bit of set dressing we've got going on here.
Is it a Robo Pumpkin or like a Jacko Robo Skull? Like, what is the best name for it?
I have no idea. I can't think. I'm usually good with the names, but yeah, I think Robo Pumpkin is the best because it's
Robo Pumpkin probably is the best because it's shorter. I was just making other suggestions.
Pumpkin Skull is quite hard.
That doesn't really.
No.
Jacko Skull doesn't really work either.
Jacko
Skull, kind of.
It kind of works.
Robo in there.
Kind of works. That helmet has decimated my my fringe. There we go. That's back in the game, right?
You've not seen the tall hair in a long time.
Well, you haven't, but I've been rocking this for about a week or so.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm back in the game I'm back in the hair game. Anyway, buddy, how are you doing? It's been ages.
It has been a little while. Yeah, you know, our schedules aren't meeting up all the time. Well, one time they did meet up, but they met up for both of us to not be on.
That was so true, wasn't it? It was the NYCC weekend, and it was. Oh, I can't do it. Neither can I. Perfect. And we didn't do anything. We didn't do any weekly that week. But no, we're back in the game. I've got my sword. This is cool, actually.
This is kind of a bonus because this isn't the weekly, right? It's the Full Force Mid-Freakly.
It's a Mid-Freakly.
Just like an extra thing.
And it's a Halloween special, and we're just talking crap this time, mate. We're just talking nothing topical, nothing current. We are literally just talking our top 3 each favorite scary G.I. Joe and Cobra characters. So that's what we're doing. And I'm excited because you sent me a really good list, and I was like, I hadn't contemplated, I don't think, any of the ones that you sent me. You might have seen mine already, and you're kind of like, oh, Captain right down the normal commercial route.
See, that's what I was kind of hoping to just not step on anyone's toes by just completely going out of left field and doing something that would just not be the first thing that anyone would think of. So maybe they're not the best 3. I'll admit to that right now. But they're definitely 3 that deserve consideration. The
fact that I haven't included Kraken or Skeletron in mine is actually, now thinking about it, a really bad move.
You know, I was really thinking about Kraken because Kraken is most certainly Creature from the Black Lagoon inspired.
We can use this little banter bit at the beginning as an honourable mentions then, can't we?
Yeah, we can.
So here are some characters you're not going to see over the next hour or so. And that is Skeletron, Kraken, but I definitely think they do deserve an honourable mention because they are monsters. And that's like part of the whole... You know, that's part of the whole vibe with Halloween and the scary aspect of it.
I'm looking to see what you have just to cheat. And you know who I'm going to add to that list? Venomous Maximus. He kind of deserves an honourable mention because I almost had him in there.
It's a good shout. It's like G.I. Joe's very own Frankenstein in a sense, isn't it?
In a sense, yeah. Or a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, depending on how you look at it.
That's a good point, because
it's a little bit of both, because it's almost a permanent, semi-permanent transformation. He doesn't go back and forth, but yeah.
Hawk is still in there somewhere as well, don't forget, isn't he, basically? So no, you're right. Yeah, but there's some nice little parallels I think we've got going on here. The other, I mean, there are a lot of characters in G.I. Joe. I mean, Once a Man Cobra Commander's a good shout, but again,
all
of Cobra-La, which interestingly I avoided as well, because it's like, we've been talking about Cobra-La for the last, well, I've been talking about Cobra-La for the last like 2 months, it feels like. And yes, honorably mentioned, all of it goes in here. But it's more like gross than scary sometimes for me. Nemesis Immortal's intimidating though. And I would say, like, obviously Nemesis Enforcer and Nemesis Immortal are both intimidating. Nemesis Intimidator is what they should have called him.
I actually had another thought on Nemesis, like the name change. It could be like a Gandalf the Grey, Gandalf the White kind of thing. And the fact that we saw him killed last, he's back. He's Nemesis Immortal.
And he's immortalized, of course.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right then. And there's so many, though. This is the problem. I start thinking about it and like
all of Valor versus Venom.
Yeah, the amount of all of it. Especially Dr. Link Talbot. Let's throw him in there. Scary piece of, no, I'm kidding, he's awesome. I'm just trying to think of, but there's loads. There's genuinely loads, and and if you have any, and you're listening and you're watching, throw them in the comments. Obviously, we're not live. We are doing this. This is a pre-recorded thing, but throw them in the comments anyway. We'd like to see your top 3 most scary characters in G.I. Joe and Cobra. Anyway, Pat, we should probably get stuck into these because we've got loads to get through. Let's do it, shall we? Should we do it?
Yes.
Do you know what? You should have been Blanca, because that would have made more sense, wouldn't it?
I just I needed to keep working out a little bit
to work that electricity.
And I never was eating the crust of my bread, so my chest isn't quite hairy enough.
I'd show you mine, but it takes ages to take this off. And I funnily enough, I put this on and then needed a wee, and then Kate had to like help me out of it so that I could urinate, and then help me back into it again. Anyway, enough of the behind the scenes. Let's do it. So it's the Mid-Freakly, it's the full force. Let's get stuck in, shall we, buddy? We'll start with your number 3 choice for, your kind of scariest. We're doing Cobra and Joe, but effectively, I think it's all main. Is it all Cobra? Mine is.
Yeah, actually it is.
Yeah, so G.I. Joe doesn't even get a set. They're not that scary, though, are they? Let's face it.
No, they're the good guys.
They're the good guys.
Not here to terrify us.
Right, it's all Cobra. There's me at the beginning going G.I. Joe and Cobra character. No, it's just Cobra. Anyway,
yeah, but we have the honorable mention of Hawk / Venomous Maximus.
That is a very, very good point. Right then, buddy, take us through. Who's your number 3?
My number 3. I decided to go for one that I think is kind of a creepy story whenever you really think about it, but people tend to not think about it. It's Dr. Mindbender 2.
Bosh. Do you like the pumpkin? I've thrown in there as well as the number.
Nice. Yeah,
it's nice.
So the countdown is there. We could see it clearly. Very good.
Yep. And also, it was I wouldn't say it was fun. It was a mission trying to find the specific 2 issues that Dr. Mindbender version 2 pops up in. I think it's like 152 and 3 or something like that. It's a really like, it's late on. There's 2 issues, but my goodness. I had a lot of fun taking screenshots to show him, because what's really interesting about this, Pat, is just how scary he looks drawn as well.
Yeah, and they chose to draw him very different from what the toy looks like. He has the tech bits on him, but they're very gray. Yeah, and really it's the suit that is drawn so differently, because if you look at the suit that the figure is wearing, it really is like that lab coat look with some tech bits on it. But instead of being an entire coat, it's just a shirt. Probably because of the construction of the figures and the reuse of the legs. But they didn't go that way at all in the comic. They kind of just made it be a stretchy superhero kind of thing.
Yeah, they went superhero on him, didn't they? I can't talk. I'm literally covered in tight as hell spandex as we speak.
Yeah, well, you weren't supposed to be wearing a lab coat today, so it's fine.
Do Do you want to see? Do you want to see what my junk looks like in this? I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to scare anyone with that one. Continue on your Dr. Mindbender chat.
Yeah, but you know, in the comics, in the Marvel comics, Dr. Mindbender had been killed, right? Wasn't he in the freighter with all the other Cobras?
Yeah, like he was naked for like 4 issues in a tube, and he kept showing up, and then he was brought back to life, and like most of the time was in a bed waking up with no clothes on, until we see him at this point.
Yeah, so it's I don't know, that it's just a creepy story. Maybe it's and I guess I don't want to spoil any movies, the movie that it makes me think of, but just replacing yourself with another copy of yourself is such a great evil Dr. Mindbender scheming on his own kind of plot.
Yeah.
And I really would have liked to have seen the second Dr. Mindbender maybe coping or dealing with the fact, like the thought that he's not really the real Dr. Mindbender.
Right. Yeah, that whole kind of
he's not the original.
The clone trope sort of thing. Yeah, totally.
It may have even been fun to delve into some kind of story where you find out that the Mindbender that we knew may have already been the second one.
Yeah. Do you know,
there's a lot of story potential here that I think is untapped.
I was going to mention here, Pat, as well, the next version of Mindbender that never came out, that we got concepts for and stuff like that, and we've seen on the tactical battle platform artwork, or kind of cover artwork, box artwork is the word I'm looking for. Things like that particular character, and how I think it's worth talking about that transition from this one to the next one, and how there was facial scarring, wasn't there, on the next one, as if this cybernetic element had been ripped off. Yeah,
it was an interesting way that the toys were almost telling their own story, because that wasn't really delved into too much in the comic. In the comic, it almost feels like some of those parts could just be things he's wearing, not part of him. But then, the file card tells you that those are cybernetic implants. And then in the next figure, it's not like they forgot about it. They actually put the scars on, which was a nice development thing for this character. I kind of think that there's a nice horror story going on, probably largely because Dr. Mindbender himself has such similarity to Dr. Frankenstein as it is already.
Definitely. I love it. I think it's a great shout. And you're right. I definitely found a more terrifying, sinister, scary vibe when I looked at in the comic for the images for this version 2 of Dr. Mindbender, because it is like he's drawn in such a kind of like manic, terrifying, and almost like, very sharp point features, and like, just very sinister, smiling a lot during these kind of like horrible sort of scenarios and everything. So yeah, I think this is a good shout, mate, for your number 3 of the day. I am going to go with a pretty obvious one, I'd have to say, but it's one that, again, I'm trying to keep it. My one, I'm kind of like keeping in with my first choice. I'm keeping in the kind of monster area and the monster vibe, or the kind of like sci-fi crazy vibes. That will change as we go through my list, but I thought I'd go with the Zombie Viper. Now, this beauty just seemed to capture everyone's imagination at the time, and it almost was that thing of like, why hasn't this been done sooner? Kind of feeling, wasn't there? Like when it came out, it was like everyone loved them, everyone wanted to army build them. The storyline around them was quite interesting. The fact that we had like this Compound Z, which never really got its full focus. And I remember I was on a bus. This is so random. I was on a bus in London, and I was looking at my phone because I don't think it might have been the case that the 50th one was re-released or something. It might have been something. Either way, it was in the news feed for whatever reason. And I remember seeing it and just going, man, they never ever really got anywhere near Compound Z and the explanation of it, or showed it in any other media. And I thought that was like a really kind of like missed opportunity. Like, I know the club had like their little zombie kind of story with the set, but that's it really, in terms of any sort of like, development into this sort of area. And then, of course, with the concept case and all of the different zombified characters that we were kind of very close to getting with Cobra Commander and Vipers and all that kind of stuff. It was like, man, I kind of wish it had happened. I kind of wish they'd delved into this a bit more.
Yeah, that concept case was a shame. Those were, as I understand it, supposed to be a blind pack situation. Yeah. So there would be like a gravity fed thing. And I think that it was going to have, I've even seen like the capsules for them were going to have like foot pegs and stuff on the outside. So it would almost be like, you know, having a mini play set that you're building. So as you bought more and more of them, it wouldn't be so much of a waste. And that's why so many of the characters that you see were army builders. I think there was Cobra Commander and Storm Shadow.
Yeah.
But the rest were army builders. And I think those would have been chases, actually.
Wow.
For Cobra Commander and Storm Shadow. So there would have been fewer of them. So it really would have encouraged you to just keep on buying these things. And then buying those and the potential to mix it with this figure that would have like all the parts zombified and like a consistent color to things. I love the fact that they went with a blue so that it avoided like the bloody aspect of things.
Yeah.
But you still got like this zombie feel to it. They're really tuning into the zombie thing, in my opinion, very well. And to be honest, this one was on my list for a little while.
Oh.
And I thought, you know what? I bet Chris is going to put this on his list.
You know me so well.
I'm going to leave it off and hope that he does. Because in my mind, because I was driving while I was thinking what my 3 were.
Yeah.
I was thinking, man, you know, Toxo Zombie is such a great figure that kind of belongs in there.
Yeah.
But then I really gave it thought, and it's like the Toxo Zombie character is supposed to be a Toxo Viper who is kind of decaying and having some major medical problems.
Right.
It's not like a resurrected body.
Right.
Where that's kind of what the zombie Vipers were. So I think that this is a good pick.
And it's just such a cool figure as well. Like, you know, all the aspect where you could put that kind of like helmet thing on it, plugged into the back. You had the kind of the ports for the Compound Z canisters and stuff. It was just really cool. And of course, you know, that like extendable kind of like tree-like branch limbs and stuff like that as well were really awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm down for this one, and it's scary as I mean, that image on the right hand side is a really good shot of this figure in action. So yeah, this is.
I looked that up. I think that Stephen Allen took that picture, and man, the pose that he put it in. That
Brilliant.
hand, you wouldn't think that it would have as much utility as it does.
Right.
But it can like,
yeah,
you know, it can look like it's grabbing.
Yeah.
It can look like he's just kind of, you know, droning around, and then the dragging of the foot that's in this picture. Like you just know that foot's being dragged.
Yeah.
Just by the way it's posed. Perfect.
Yeah. He's doing the Arnie in Terminator after he's been run over by a truck, isn't he? He's going, gung, gung. Anyway, yeah, that's a beauty. I'm glad you're on board with that one, buddy. Zombie Viper goes into my number 3. Next up then is Pat's number 2.
Okay. We're gonna have my number 2 in here. It's going to be Monstro-Viper.
Brilliant. Mega monsters in the house.
Yeah. So I don't know why whenever these came out, what a departure, honestly, from any other G.I. Joe figure that we had seen prior to this.
Big time.
Big time, yeah. But I think that as far as trying to tune in, and this is where I was trying to balance, because I did think that Zombie Viper was such a good hit upon classic horror.
Yeah.
You know, it's like something straight out of a black and white movie. Monstro-Viper, I'm sorry. Well, I don't know why I said that. I saw Mega Monsters, and I instantly said the thing that's wrong.
You don't know what this is at all. You've never seen this in your life.
No, this is the one that I picked up. I picked up this one ahead of Bio-Viper. And a lot of people prefer Bio-Viper because he has the cool tentacle feature, which is really cool. But I don't know. I've always liked werewolf stuff. Yeah. And do you remember the file card for Monstro-Viper? How it says that he's created? It is kind of crazy. Like the things that they're like, oh, it's this and this and this and this. And then you're like, hang on. Well, how did that happen? They were once a team of ordinary range vipers until Cobra Commander ordered them to volunteer for an experiment in DNA alteration. In a lot of ways, this is like sets the stage for Valor versus Venom, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And says the experiment was run by Dr. Mindbender, so you immediately have like that Dr. Frankenstein thing going in your head.
Also, a bit of a connection with 2 choices so far as well.
Yeah, yeah. And it says, who biogenetically crossed the vipers with rabid werewolves,
Hang on,
giant Bigfoot creatures,
hang
and the
on.
most gruesome grizzly bears he could find.
Well, grizzly bears would be a hell of a lot easier to find than the other two.
Yeah, I know. Like, the implication there is crazy. It's like he's not crossed with wolves. He's crossed with werewolves.
Rabid werewolves.
Rabid werewolves. Yeah, not
I
friendly ones, as
Not
you
the
normally
chilled
see.
ones.
Not
Like,
Oz, but,
hang on.
the other ones.
I think it's whatever's laying around his laboratory is what they're talking about. Like, it's not like he went out and got. I mean, he's creating werewolves and he's creating.
Okay.
That's the only way it could make sense, because otherwise, you're right. They don't exist. How
Is
did they
he just
find
like
them?
a major like Cobra fan? That like that's what he does in his fanboy time. When he like we've never heard about the werewolves because that was like not an official Cobra project. That was just him being a fan of old black and white movies, being like, you know what, I should actually make werewolves today.
We need werewolves to exist. Yeah, no, that's hilarious. It's cool because it is insinuating that this universe that we're in with G.I. Joe, this particular universe, werewolves and Bigfoot exists, which I think is really cool. Was there a Bigfoot? There was a Sasquatch in the 12-inch, wasn't there? Or am I making that up?
Well, that's a $6 million man, and G.I. Joe had a crossover. So
it counts. That's the universe that has been created. So there you go.
Yeah, but that would be, isn't he a robot? So that mean that he'd be crossed with a DNA of a robot. Well, you know what? He's got that weird robot thing on his chest, so maybe that's the robot Bigfoot part.
It's all happening, isn't it? It's all coming to, yeah, it's all bonkers really at the end of the day. But no, that's really funny. And obviously, yeah, looking at the file card and everything, I have never noticed that ever. The werewolves, like the way that it's worded, it would probably not register unless you're reading it out like this and kind of breaking it down, which is really funny. But that's great, man.
It's their, and then they're 1/4 man and 3/4 monster. I did always kind of want to have a redeco of the vipers that made the Bio Viper and the Monstro-Viper. So like a range viper with these crazy orange pants on would be awesome.
Nice, very nice. If you were to be crossed with certain creatures for a Dr. Mindbender biogenetic experiment to become one of the mega monsters, what other creatures would you be infused with?
Probably a vampire.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, because I'm always awake at night anyway, so it wouldn't be much different. And I'd get to live longer, and
you love drinking blood,
and everybody finds them attractive. So
brilliant.
Of course, vampire. You go for that.
And when you go outside, your skin goes all sparkly and diamond-like.
And I don't know what the other one would be. What's your answer to that?
I don't have an answer. I always ask questions that I'm willfully ill-prepared to respond when it comes back my way. I would say a weasel and and a badger. A were-badger. We'll say a were-badger.
Maybe a cheetah would be my second.
Okay, so you're going cool and fast. I'm going weasel and badger, which is, that's how it is. That's how we differ.
You're going to be scrappy and stand your ground. I'm just going to dart out of there and then bite somebody.
Actually, skunk. I'll go skunk, a were-skunk, because that way I could be really vicious and make horrible smells. And that's kind of what I am anyway. That's kind of what happens anyway. So
does the smell wear off by morning if you're a were-skunk?
Yeah. No, actually, what's funnier is that my DNA would make the skunk smell worse. So you might as well. The skunk would be like, I don't want to be crossed with him. I already smell terrible when I let this off. I'm not making it worse. Anyway, yeah, that's my answer to that. Let us know in the comments, what two creatures or animals or whatever would you be DNA spliced with to create a mega monster, please and thank you. Pat has said a cheetah and a vampire. I like those. And I have said a weasel and a were-skunk. Right then, let's continue. I don't think there's another image on that one for Monster. Nope. I think that's it. And I'm going to go with number 2. I'm going to go with my number 2. And my number 2 is the Range Viper. Specifically, and I will say the new classified Range Viper, because when I saw these promo images for this figure, I was unbelievably sold. I'm not talking about like how cool the figure is, which it is. This is about intimidation factor. This is about terrifying scariness. And that helmet is just all of those things. And what I loved about the original Range Viper is that I don't think it was silly. I thought it was really cool. And I thought the original vintage Range Viper had a cool look to it. I thought the head sculpt was amazing, and it was still intimidating and scary. But what I think the classified figure did to this kind of mask and the exposed like gray matter at the top is just phenomenal. And when I saw it was this image, I was like, yeah, that's phenomenal. The lighting helps, obviously. But yeah, this is up there in terms of intimidation factor for me, with the Cobra ranks as normal troops, but intimidation levels 105%. Thoughts, Pat?
Yeah, that's a good one, because you are right that was the purpose of them. I think that some people didn't quite grasp that with the original figure. They just look at it and go, "Why does this guy have a skull for a head?" No, it's a mask.
Yeah.
But man, I have said it many times, and I'm going to keep on saying it until hopefully somebody hears it and is like, "Oh, sweet, we do need to do that." There needs to be a line of masks coming out that are based on some of the sculpts from the classified line, because, well,
yeah, you're right. You're right.
But like Crimson Guard and this one, it really is a home run. Like, there's nothing on this head sculpt that I look at and go, well, that seems a little bit different than how I imagine it. It seems a little out of character. Where you compare it to the original one, there are a lot more details to it. Like, it has been sharpened in a lot of the areas, but it's in all the right areas. Like, they really did a good job of bringing this into a larger scale. And I kind of think that the details that are already on there, I can't imagine that they would need to be any different if scaled up even more. Like, it really is fantastic. And I think that they really could do like a line of helmets. I don't know how well the Star Wars helmets sell. I know the Transformers ones, a lot of those went to GameStop clearance.
Yeah.
But man, at least give it a try. And don't just start us off with a Viper or Cobra Commander that we've had multiple times. I want to see, like, how does a Range Viper do, on sale as a helmet? Because I think it's awesome.
I'd love a Range Viper helmet. That'd be so... I mean, all you've got to do really is look at like the Finest and these costume groups that make these amazing helmets and stuff. Kate made an awesome Lightfoot helmet for me as well. Like, in that, I mean, I'm not expecting a Lightfoot helmet in this display to be made, but like, all you got to do is look at those kind of things and just how amazing they come out, and how great that could be for like a range. But Crimson Guard especially, I think a Crimson Guard helmet is one that would be so cool for them to do, because like we've had, and you know what's funny, we haven't really had we've had Cobra Commander's helmet. How difficult would it be to just do a regular Cobra Trooper helmet with a little face mask that you could, like, a separate face mask?
Yeah, if they're already separate, you could just release the same helmet again.
Right. So I kind of feel like, a Trooper helmet is like one that I think could be done, because we've never really had it, I don't think. A G.I. Joe green shirt helmet would be amazing, or like Duke's helmet from the vintage line, the one that you're wearing, sort of, but like in green, that I think that would be great. Bazooka's helmet would be freaking cool. There's a lot of kind of subtle ones out there. Footloose with the leaves on it and everything. But in terms of like, really cool Halloween sort of vibes as well, a Range Viper helmet would be phenomenal. But anyway, that's the Range Viper for me, number 2. And as you'll probably be able to guess, if you know me at all as a human being, you're very likely going to guess what my number 1 is before we get there. I'm not going to say it now, obviously, because Pat's next. But as you can see, my list has gone from a weird, crazy sci-fi monster to the more intimidation tactics that Cobra would employ, and we'll get into a little bit more of that for my number 1. But before we do that, Pat, what is your number 1, please? And thank you, sir.
Well, you know that I have a tendency to really like traditional things and the appreciation of like the historical element of things.
Absolutely.
And I kind of thought that this was one moment where somebody did something that kind of knocked it out of the park and really appreciated 2 old things at the same time. So we have From the G.I. Joe Club, 2012's 12-inch Mummy.
This is a cool idea. Now, this is, again, like, this is the whole layout of everything. And I think Pat is more interested in getting to the next image, which will show off the mummy. But if I thought I'd show this one first just to show the set. But there you go.
Yeah, because the Mars Trooper is actually the body that you were supposed to put in here. You didn't get 3 bodies in the set. You got 2 bodies. And I would imagine that what a lot of people did was they just took a spare body that they had and threw it into this so that they could keep both of them as they were. Fantastic convention set. Still kind of wish that I would have bought this one. This was one of the first ones of the 12-inch sets that was like, I looked at it and I thought, man, you know, that thing is not just good to me because of the kind of pseudo Cobra character and stuff that's going on.
Right.
Like, there's definitely some story building elements, but I was attracted to this because of the fact that the 12-inch line had already had a mummy years ago, but it was very small and it wasn't articulated. And this, you know, paid homage to that, but then brought it forward by making a figure actually be fully articulated that you could play with in the same way as that old Adventure Team stuff. And at the same time, as far as the horror elements, you know, the Boris Karloff Mummy movie is a classic. And I think that this does a good job, even though he's not really the mummy very long in that movie. If you watch it, it's like there's not a lot of mummy elements that you would imagine. You may actually do better if you want more mummy action to go with a Brendan Fraser movie. Really. But it is one of the classic Universal monsters, is the mummy. And those are who I think of when I think of horror. I really like the Universal monsters a lot. And I just think that this is one of the great moments in G.I. Joe that maybe people weren't going to think of on this Halloween, so I wanted to bring it up.
This is genius, because what you just said there makes total sense. With all of your choices, you've gone with Dr. Mindbender, as in Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde sort of kind of feeling, right? You've gone with a werewolf, and you've gone with a mummy. I like where you've gone, Pat. It's like again, you've themed your choices, and I really appreciate that a lot. I just went with Zombie Viper, Range Viper, and whatever my next one's going to be, which is also a Viper. But I love this. I think it's really cool. I don't have this, but does the is it the back that's kind of like got a split in it so you can fit the figure in, and then does it like Velcro up or something?
I can't remember if it's Velcro. I think it is Velcro. I'm pretty sure, because I only had the chance to play around with one once. Because like I said, I didn't pre-order this. It's still on like my long list of things that, hey, maybe I should get into those. And I had an opportunity to buy one while I was playing around with it and just thought, you know what? If I do this, I'm going to be a few $1,000s into 12-inch figures really fast.
Yeah.
So I need to cool off, and I had debt already at the time.
Yeah.
So don't get further in debt. You know, the only reason why I don't have this is because of money, not because of space. It's more the fact that I just didn't have the cash every time it's come up. So I like it. I still will buy one probably. But I think I did a search. It's not like this one pops up all the time.
So it's fairly rare, I would say, then in that case.
Would it be cool as a smaller figure, like I would want 4-inch, but do you think there's space for something like this in the current 6-inch market with maybe 100%. An Adventure Team kind of theme?
Well, you could definitely do the same thing with making it like a cover thing that a figure could go inside.
Oh yeah.
And I think, or you could just, have a mummy sculpted for like a Dio set or something, like a, a Rise Serpentor or Rise situation. Or, like, was it Montezuma we got in the 4-inch line, which wasn't a mummy, it was more a skeletal remains, wasn't it, with the gear on. But like, I definitely think there's a possibility to do like was it Xanath Amon Toth? I think it was Xanath Amon Toth was the fake kind of person that they used in a Rise Serpentor or Rise for the Egyptian tomb sort of situation with Zorana, when she went in and booby traps and had a go at Dr. Mindbender in that as well. It's funny that everything we talk about just always comes back round to Dr. Mindbender again, doesn't it?
And it's funny that we actually kind of chose 2 Range Vipers.
Yes.
You chose the actual Range Viper, and I chose the Monstro-Viper, which is the Range Viper.
That is crazy. That is crazy.
Venom style.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, amazing. I love this. I love this option. I would definitely take a classified version of this, and 4-inch I think would be great to have like a little set where it was like like an Adventure Team thing, or if it was Adventure Team, or if it was related to the Sunbow cartoon. I think those are where it would make a lot of sense in kind of returning to toys. But I think that'd be great. I think they're doing a lot of soft goods at the moment with classified. I couldn't see that being off the table. And I like what I like about it is that it's, you know, a little bit, when you put the thing on, you've got the bits of like, you know, the bits of the kind of wrapping kind of hanging off, and you've got like the kind of dirty smudges all over it as well to kind of give it that authenticity. I think it's really cool.
I kind of thought that this one would be frustrating too. Whenever I looked at it at first, it was whenever I had it in hand that I realized, oh no, this is something you can put off and take off and put on multiple times, and it's not going to be a problem because all that is sewn in place. So it's not like you're going to have it unraveling on you or anything like that. But it does look like it is unraveling. Like they did a good job of making it look that way. Like that wrap that's coming off the arm. It's just fun stuff.
It's great, man. Love it. Great shout. I love it. It's brilliant. And it makes a lot of sense for Halloween. It's a mummy. Brilliant stuff. Right then.
So then we get to your number one.
My number one is a pretty obvious one if you know me. I have loved this particular this particular, let's just say it, troop builder or Viper for ever. Well, ever since it was released. I remember vividly buying this one figure from Roy's of Wroxham with my mother. When we were on a little like day trip or whatever to just down the road, and I remember picking this up and thinking it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. I must have read that file card I've read this file card more than any other file card in the G.I. Joe line, because one, it's so amazing, incredibly detailed. There's so many incredible aspects to it that make you kind of go, they've really gone to town with this. And it is the Hydro Viper. Yes, of course it's the Hydro Viper. Why would it be anything else? I'll break it down into multiple different things here. So one, the figure itself is really cool. Even if you're not a fan of like some of the kind of crazy aspects of it, you can take the helmet off, take the flippers off, and you've got a freaking very underrated figure just in general. The sculpt's amazing. Yes, you've got that kind of webbed hand, but I love that. I think that's a really good addition. Obviously, if we ever saw this kind of like in modern day, I would hope that they would do more to, you know, give you the option for like a webbed hand. I'm surprised we've not seen anything of a Hydro Viper, you know, since. Like, I don't understand why we're at this point without a Hydro Viper. Can you explain to me why that's the case, Pat?
I think that the eel probably bumped him out of place. That, you know, you do the eel because he's the more classic Cobra diver. But the Hydro Viper is just fantastic. Whenever you said that you know you, it was either going to be this or the horror that we haven't gotten a Lightfoot yet. That's number one.
That's actually my number one. It's a fake out. This is my number one, guys. Is we had the horror that we do not have Lightfoot yet. But I'm talking in general, mate. Like Hydro Viper in general, we've
underserved.
Just not.
Where is he in the 25th line too?
Exactly,
you know?
exactly. Just never seen this guy, and it's like it's almost like well, we've perfect. There's no point doing it again. It's perfect, but like, you know, obviously that's ridiculous when you're talking about a different scale. But like, again, the deco I think is phenomenal. It's a figure. It's a very bright figure. It's got a lot of different like deco hits on it. It's got the yellow on it as well. The helmet with that kind of Predator vibe with the hoses. I mean, there's lots to enjoy as a figure, and all of the things that, you know, connect to it. The backpack's really cool. The weapon, you know, the harpoon gun's really neat, and it's a figure animal companion. So you get the Devil Ray as well, which is what it specifically is stated on the pack as well. And, you know, in terms of just like full on intimidation factor, I have to avert the eyes to, well, or at least from the figure to the card art, that Earl Norham card art, which is one of my favorite pieces of artwork in the G.I. Joe line for multiple reasons. But one of them, Pat, is a very subtle one. And that's the use of light on the lower part of the legs to insinuate that you are looking at this creature and it is a creature, let's face it, through water. So obviously at the close-up part where the figure is closer to you and the animal is closer to you, you can see it in like a nice clear way, because you probably would at that distance. But then as the feet move away from the kind of, in more the background, you can see that the water is having that effect on, on that visual. And I think that's just such a subtle, perfect addition by Al Norum. And obviously the bubbles as well help to create that vibe that they're in water, the pose, of course, the fact that the devil ray is in, that position. But it's just awesome. And I know there's like a little bit of like artistic license by Earl here on the helmet. But my God, didn't he make that look terrifying?
Yeah, I think that they were trying to go for that anyway. It's just kind of the fit of a helmet over a head needed to bulk out a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I do think that the art is the way to go to base a new one off of. Like, try to get it. And we already said that they did so well with helmets already.
Yeah.
But I would love to see a modern version of this, just to see how well somebody can sculpt this helmet. And don't you think it's a little odd? I mean, this is like one of the only figures that, it was just comment that they had like a code name and then they had their specialty. But like beside the code name, there's like the nickname.
Demon of the Deep. Yeah.
And I think that I've seen stuff pre-production. I think that I've just seen them referred to sometimes as the Deep Demon.
Right.
Yeah. So it's almost like they wanted to have that name, but it needed to fit in the Viper thing.
So
they just put it in there anyway. Somebody
was really hardcore about that little subtitle, and I'm really happy that they were, because it again adds such a nice another level of interest to what is an already really interesting creature kind of figure, whatever you want to call it, in there. And the other thing, obviously, that when I was talking about the file card, we have to look at some of those things here, because it's just some of the coolest stuff in here. So obviously they're qualified eels, which most of the characters that you'll see that quite often. Snow Serpent's one of them. They're eels that are like, kind of recruited into this kind of like Snow Serpent thing. Same thing for Hydro Vipers. And it makes more sense here because obviously they're already underwater specialists. They volunteer to be surgically altered to withstand nitrogen narcosis and other side effects of deep diving. Synthetic webs are implanted between their fingers, and subcutaneous fat production is stimulated by chemical injections to provide natural insulation. The level of detail in that sentence just blew me away as a kid. And I was always like, this is so cool. It's giving you so much in such a small amount of space. The long-term effects of these procedures is known to be psychologically destabilizing. So they're volunteering for this, and they're getting proper messed up over time with it as well. But it says in the little separate section, it says, "I'm sorry, those guys just aren't human anymore. They have a handshake like a dead mackerel, and they leave damp spots on all the furniture. I realize that they are virtually unbeatable in underwater combat, but so is a great white shark, and I'll bet the shark is friendlier." Loved that. Anyway, one of my favorite ever creatures, figures, whatever you want to say, ever made in the G.I. Joe line, and definitely intimidation factor. You're seeing this underwater, you are turning that water brown.
Yeah, gross, but you're right. I agree.
It'd be like you've just poured yourself a bowl of Cocoa Pops, or whatever they're called in the US.
You have very different Cocoa Pops. Maybe that's the reason for the smell that you were saying you had.
But it turns the milk chocolatey. That's what I would be doing around a Hydro Viper. I'd be turning that milk chocolatey, I'm telling you. But yeah, I don't know. This is definitely something. If we don't see this in the classified series, Pat, or even I'm just going to go and say it. I want to see this reissued in some way. I want to see this in a 4-inch capacity. I want to see this in a O-ring capacity again. Like, this has to happen. Why are we being underserved Hydro Vipers and their wonderful little devil rays?
It doesn't really make sense. I think that maybe it was just the fact that some of the other bodies, like if you're already making a torpedo, that probably translates a lot easier to other divers, like the Cobra diver or the eel. because of the skin type, but not scaly aspect to them.
Right.
But I have to say that for all the divers that they could do next that are bad guys, because I don't view Undertow as a Cobra. To me, he's an Iron Grenadier.
Destro. Yeah, definitely.
But you do have a lot of you wouldn't be able to put those on the shelf at the same time. You have to space that out.
Yeah.
Because too many divers at once would just be too much.
Yeah.
Same thing with like snow guys. You can't just crowd the pegs with them. But you have Hydro Vipers, Undertow, Cobra Diver. Who else is there? Like, what order would you want those in? I'm going to guess that Hydro Viper really would be the best next one.
Heavy Water?
Heavy Water. Well, yeah, Heavy Water. Is he a diver or does he just have water? No.
I don't actually know, Pat.
I guess Cobra Moray would be,
yeah.
Or Electric Eel you could have as well.
Yeah. The version 2 of the eel itself as well. That's an option, isn't it, eventually?
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
Yeah, but you're right. Like, a lot of it is just character divers. It's like Baroness, Destro, that kind of thing.
Yeah, we'll probably get like the 6-inch built to roll figure before we get a Hydro Viper for some reason.
That would be amazing. You will get Hollow Point before we get Hydro Viper, or Hallow Point. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
that was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. I forgot.
Hallow Point, and then they sent
us Halloween.
And then they
Hallow Point.
Exactly. And then they sent us the for the ones that had those figures, they sent us separately the corrected figure stand. Yeah, that was amazing. And like Major Blood with no Tash. Do you remember that as well?
Oh, I do remember that. Yeah.
Amazing. Anyway, Hydro Viper's mine. Let us know in the comments, guys. What are your top 3 scariest? And we can throw G.I. Joe in there too. Even though Pat and I avoided it like the plague, we went very much enemy combatants. And that's it. There you have it. This has been fun, Pat. I've enjoyed this. This was a nice little Halloween special.
Yeah, it was. It was a good time.
I feel like we've had our own,
and G.I. Joe is fun. So
we've had our own little Halloween party together, haven't we? That's what's happened.
We have, yes.
And are you going to be doing any trick or treating tomorrow? Because we're recording this the day before, obviously.
The adult half of it, where I hand out candy, I'm planning on doing that. But
Brilliant.
As far as trick or treating, no, I've never really grew up in the country, so didn't really I did trick or treat, but we didn't really trick or treat. Not
it's
like the traditional going to multiple houses.
Exactly, it's for kids. For the adults, it's going to like a Halloween party or something, isn't it? That's the diff. That's what we do on Halloween usually. Are you doing anything special for Halloween?
No, I work, and hopefully I can get out of work to hand out candy to kids because I like them to have candy as they go around the neighborhood. My neighborhood's actually pretty nice. And the kids they've been super respectful and good on Halloween, and I like that. So I want to encourage that by giving out candy.
This is our first Halloween here since we moved.
Oh, right.
We're coming up.
You know what to expect?
Yeah, well, we know that the neighborhood's really cool and nice. Everyone's very friendly, so fingers crossed it's a good one. But I'm going to be wearing the Snake Eyes costume, and I might have to put pants on, is all I'm saying, because it doesn't leave much to the imagination. So just to be on the safe side, I'll be covering up as well. Maybe I could be Snake Eyes in full costume just out of the shower and have the towel wrapped around me as well. Maybe I could go full, just cover every base there. But yeah, so hopefully we'll have some fun handing out some trick-or-treat candy as well. But yeah, man, I'll send you a picture of the full shot just so you can see all of it later.
Nice.
And of course, wearing this bad boy too. This is actually really cool, but it's not the most comfortable helmet in the world. This is the Modern Icons one, I think. Snake Eyes one. And it kind of separates there at the side. It's interesting, but it's cool. And of course, Pat, you're obviously Street Fighter Guile. Look at that. I love it. For those that are confused as to why Street Fighter would be connected to G.I. Joe, it's massively connected to G.I. Joe. You just don't know anything about the vintage era in that case. But yeah, love it. Brilliant. Thanks very much, Pat. Anything to say before we go? Any articulated points specials on the horizon?
No. We just posted the third part of the Eco Warriors videos, and yeah, it does come to another cliffhanger kind of thing. There's another part. There's going to be 4 parts total to that, plus the 2 things that we kind of did supplemental before with Philip doing the septic tank and the toxic time bombs that I had done. So
brilliant.
Yeah, that was a big undertaking, and it'll be a little while before part 4 is posted because part 3 just went up. But that's out there, and of course, there's also the Street Fighter video.
Hell yeah,
that was up a while ago.
You get in the in the description and find Articulated Points links in there for you guys to check out. That Street Fighter video is amazing, by the way, especially the bit where Pat like superimposes himself onto the actual film. That is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life, and I love it every single time I see it. In fact, for a while, it was the image I used to shout you out, like when you weren't on the show and stuff. So yeah, we'll have to get that going again. Go check that out if you haven't seen it. It's brilliant. Right then, have a great Halloween. Have a spooky Halloween. Have whatever kind of Halloween you want and need. Thank you very much, buddy, for joining me again. It's been great. I love these. We should do these we should have these little specials like periodically throughout the year, shouldn't we? Not just Halloween ones, but specials for like certain times of the year or what have you.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. Halloween makes it fun because there's the motivation to dress up and do all that sort of thing. But yeah, I agree.
What do you mean dress up? I usually wear this.
You wear that every day.
Or every day to work and everything. I might actually rock this to work tomorrow and see what happens. See how many police escorts I get. Anyway, that's it for us. Thank you very much for joining us for this Full Force Mid-Freakly special. We'll be back with loads more content. We've got interviews up the wazoo this week, and of course Pat and I will be chatting the weekly regular on Saturday as well. Stay fresh, stay spooky, cheese bags. Yeah, you like that one? That doesn't make sense. Or
popcorn balls, or whatever you may have gotten for Halloween.
Stay. I think people just
not necessarily cheese bags, right?
Stay
fresh and safe.
Stay safe during this very dangerous period of time. And after 3, you know what to do. 1, 2, 3.
Full force.
Ooh. Amazing. Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on X, formerly Twitter, @TheFullForce, liking the Facebook page, facebook.com/TheFullForce. We've also added a brand new Instagram, so check us out there as well @TheFullForce Podcast, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on any of those platforms with feedback and questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/TheFullForce Podcast, or click on the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.